WCAT Radio and TV introduces Romuald B. Simeone, an ordinary man. In this episode, you will hear the next of his adventures of Jesus-centering and Trinitarian interventions. Watch or listen and be inspired to be an ordinary man or woman yourself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Chiara Simeone-DiFrancesco, the wife of Romuald Simeone, and this is the Romuald B. Simeone Show, Ordinary Man, Adventures in Jesus-Centering and Trinitarian Interventions. Sorry, I forgot that word. We're going to have some fun today. You see how bright it is outside? Well, I'm inviting Cesareo, he's in Spain, Dr. Cesareo Fernandez Gomez, to enjoy virtually a little bit of the beautiful weather that we have in Oshkosh. It's like spring coming early. So I'm already in my tropical garb, right? Seeing the sun shining, my sunglasses on. I was out there having my second jog after Rami passed home to the Lord. So we're getting the show on the road, right? And we're continuing on with his show. So also every time I like to share with you a little tidbit about Professor Romuald Simeone. He's a kind of a Renaissance man, as I've mentioned, likes to paint and do things artistically. Well, he likes to do beads, and this is his rosary. He makes these rosary necklaces. I have a closet full of these beautiful rosary necklaces. So there's another little tidbit about Professor Rami. As we start in what he says, today is a rather serious subject, but we're going to have a little fun with it too, and I'm going to give you an introduction. The subject is making friends out of your family. So I'm going to show a video, and we'll have a chance to talk about it, but I'd like to give a little thought of something that I encountered today. You know, I went jogging, and I went jogging on his famous bike path on Menominee Park along the lake. And this is where he would do witnessing. And that's why we're going to have his memorial May the 31st. By the way, I said on the last video, it's a Sunday. Don't listen to my dates. I always get them wrong. May 31st is the Saturday of May. And it's going to be at 11 a.m. if you're hanging around this part of Wisconsin. And it's going to be on his bike path where actually the city's bike path, but we call it his, where he went witnessing about the Lord and making friends with all sorts of people of all walks. And so I was determined today that every fellow person I saw got Rami's God bless you. That was my greeting. No longer just hi. It was God bless you. And planting the seeds. So as I was thinking about all of this, I came back and I reached out to, I would say, you know, we all, if you don't admit this, you aren't telling the truth. Have you ever lost a friend? Well, this is a friend that I had some hurts with because when Professor Rami died, there was never even a response to the notice. Okay, that hurts, right, guys? And I say that for you out there that are watching, that have lost a loved one, that are grieving the loss of someone, and you discover who are your real friends and who are those that don't come through. And Professor Rami, I was listening. It so happened to be a cassette recording of his where he was talking about this subject about healing from hurts and whether someone ever even has an enemy. And he said, you know, when you talk about friends versus enemies and whether, you know, people always say, oh, I don't hate anyone and nobody hates me. And he asked them, well, have you ever lost a friend? Have you ever a friend distanced from you? He said, the way you want to spell hate is Hurt. Hurt. When we hurt people, that's a type of hate, and we're often not aware of it. And we need to ask the Lord to make us aware. So I decided this particular person that I was going to make sure that no matter how cold they were, I was going to be forgiving. So since the occasion came up, I sent the person a little text and I reached out. And that's, guys, what it takes. It means reaching out even when someone you thought was a friend maybe isn't a friend. You have the hurt. Maybe they're on the enemy side of the list or have backstabbed you in life in some way. What did the Lord do on the cross? That's why I love this video background. Not only is it full of sunshine today, but standing and sitting before the cross of the Lord. What did Jesus do on the cross? He reached out. He reached out to everyone that turned out to be enemies rather than faithful friends. All of those persons that didn't stand by him at the foot of the cross. So today, being the 30th of the month of January, I got that one right. Took me a moment. We're approaching the festival or the feast of the presentation of our Lord in the temple. And remember, this is when Joseph and Mary came in and Simeon recognized Jesus as the Messiah and took him into his arms. And I want to bring this up because that is our family name, Simeon, or as Professor Rami would say, Shimon in Jewish. And there is another little thought for you, for those of you that may have also lost someone in your life. I was meditating and praying the rosary as I was jogging, and I was praying on this mystery because this is the Sunday reading that's coming up. And I was thinking of how happy Simeon was to have a few minutes of time to hold Jesus in his arms. And when we lose someone in our life, and you have the pain of the loss and the grief, think of this. Think of Simeon. Have you held your beloved? Have you held your spouse whom you've lost, or your loved one, or your child? Have you had the blessing, like Simeon, to hold that person in your arms a few minutes or a few moments? Probably you've had them a lot longer than a few moments, a lot longer than Simeon had the privilege of holding baby Jesus. And yet, what joy he had. And he said to the Father in heaven, "Now, Master, you can let your servant go in peace." And that's a message to each one of us. Can we go in peace now? Because we refocus and we think of the gift that that person has been in our life. And so in the spirit of that, I want to appreciate the gift that Professor Simeon was for me, share his video on making friends out of your family, and mention one other little thing. I have a little something to show you. This is his vintage set of books called Love Letters from Your Father. Most of you haven't seen them because the new cover of his books, Love Letters from Your Father, looks like this. They all have the same binding, which forms a picture of the Lord with Martha and Mary. And these vintage sets, you know, he's got Revelations, letters, and the gospel. And this gospel is in one big fat volume. We've made it easier for you now in two easier to handle volumes. Just a little interesting thought, because I've never, in all the times that we've done videos, I've never shared that. So we have one boxed vintage set left, and those that come to the memorial, I have maybe 50 unboxed sets. So if you want the original printing, come to the memorial. All right, guys, here we go with the video.
Tonight's subject is one of extreme importance. In California, on this particular subject, we did a special workshop called Make friends with your family through dialogue. People think that dialogue means simple communication. It doesn't. It talks about a real positive relationship. And every time there is a difficulty with people, they always say, well, we don't really know each other's mind. And people always say, well, my husband doesn't understand me. My wife doesn't understand me. So we're looking always for somebody who understands me. And the children always say that. And parents wonder and say, well, I don't know why. You always can come to me. And yet, everybody is right here. Husbands don't understand. The children don't understand. The wives don't understand. And they don't really dialogue. They're talking about living together, that they have a positive relationship, there's nothing wrong, there's no crisis, but yet something is going wrong. We're just drifting apart. Talk to each other all the time, but things of reality are not said. So we had this workshop called Dialogue and Make Friends with Your Family, which means that we're all in partnership with each other. A family is a partnership. And we have to define what the partnership is. And so many just let it go by the wayside. When people really begin to come to each other and want to understand that there is a sense of positive relationship and a sense of equality and a sense of partnership, then they begin to see each other in a very new light and say, wow, why didn't we know this before? Why didn't we do this before? And the real magic words are when a husband or a wife, or especially a teenager, or someone who's having difficulty in the family or not, finally says, I love my family because they really understand me. Then we know that family has had dialogue. That family have become, once again, really friends. I will have the doctor tell you the psychological part. That 5 minutes that you're talking is just so true. Every word is so valuable that you're saying. But just look at the meaning of the word family. I don't know if most people, whenever I say this, they said they never heard it. They never heard it this way. Yet, this is how it's expressed in the Bible, so it's thousands of years old. This is how it's expressed by the Greek philosophers, so it's at least 2,800 years old. It's expressed by Roman philosophers, and in fact these actual words that we have are how the Roman philosophers put it together. You know, the main Roman philosophers were Marcus Aurelius and Seneca, also Cesareo, but they expressed it this way too. And so even though we have this expression of what family is, people say, never heard it. We learn so much nonsense and think it's marvelous when someone writes a book and says, well, men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and they begin to express a few little ideas. Wow, what a marvel, what a marvel. Look at someone who's actually showing us our different character. Well, what is the character of family? 3 words in Latin, 3 words. Remember them or write them down. Fama, fama. The Latin word for fame or reputation. F-A-M-A. The second word is famis. F-A-M-I-S, which means hunger. We get the word famine from this word. The first word, we get the word fame. The third word is familis. F-A-M-U-L-I-S, which means A servant. A servant. Okay? Let's get these three words together to find out what the philosophical concept of family was. And this is ancient. There's nothing new, no modern psychobabble. Fama. In a family, in this organization, this little group, there is where you get your reputation. There is where you are affirmed. There is where you are applauded. That is where you are appreciated. That's where you learn these terms. You learn how to be in relationship to the world. Relationship to yourself, to this little group around you. You're learning it as you're a child. You're learning it as you come together as a couple in a family. That here is a person who respects you. Here's a person who applauds you. Here's a person who is encouraging you to use your talents, to fulfill yourself, and is happy about it, as the doctor just said. And is happy about it. Happy that you have this in you, their potentials that now are becoming realities, and they help you to fulfill these realities. So, if you notice a little child who begins to hum a little tune or something like that, musical. You know, and you give it don't give it a drum. Bring it to the piano. You're in trouble. If you've got rhythm, boy, you're never going to end with a drum. But that's a talent to say, look, the drum sounds beautiful. It's great. You got rhythm. It'll help you to dance. You see? And you develop the talents. That's called fame. There was once a television show called Fame, showed all of a school of where people learned all their theatrical skills. That's very much what a family is supposed to be. Like a theater. That's where you perform. And people appreciate you and encourage you. So fama is the first thing about family. That's where it belongs. That's where it should start. We don't have to go on the outside to get this. It should be with the people we're living with. The second thing was famis, hunger. That's the family is where we are fed. What was the word father mean? Father means generator, provider. That's what the stem of that word means. So that's where we are fed. When the baby is born, the first thing it does, you put it at the mother's breast. The mother is there not only to reproduce that child, to bring it into the world, but to feed it. And feeding also has the psychological feeding. The mother embraces it, holds it to her breast. The first sign of love that a child knows is that the warmth of the mother feeding it, holding it, caressing it. That's what the word famis means. It means that's where our hungers, our psychological, our emotional, our intellectual hungers are beginning to be fed. And that's where they should be fed. So you've got to be in partnership with these people that are doing so much good for us. So they feed our spirit, they feed our souls, they feed our bodies. And so we learn appreciation. Families means servant. In a partnership. Family is a partnership. Each person has a duty. Each person has a function. And what is that partnership? To serve the others. To learn to be unselfish. The mother is unselfish by the pain she undergoes, the concern she undergoes for her family and her children. She is a servant, yes. A servant. Feminists don't like this word. And that's why there's a lot of hatred and division when persons feel, I'm not going to be your servant. No, it's an honor to be a servant to the person you love. It's an honor for the husband to serve his family by going and working and bringing in an income. That's families. And also, children have to learn not to be just receivers. They've got to be givers too. From an early age, to be a giver. I know a family that understood this and had a change of heart that came to a workshop. And they had 5 children. The mother assigned a chore to each one of them. I remember going to that home. That little girl who was like 2 years old, and she was crying because the mother didn't give her a cloth to dust off the furniture while everybody was doing their jobs. Anxious to serve the family even at a young age because of that example that was shown. So families, we are in service to each other. That is what family basically means. In these 3 words, families, and families. That's the meaning of this partnership. A happy, positive, relational partnership where people work together for the good of all. So, what I'm hearing, there's so much I really would say on that, but some people say, I don't know how to make friends with persons in the family, you know? And I recall this, like, going to a funeral now, and you see, okay, when the minister gives a eulogy, the priest gives a eulogy, you know, they say, wow, didn't know the guy was that good. But now what they do is that people from the audience come, the congregation, they come up and they got to say something like that, you know? So, and here people have problems, real problems, when they get together for Thanksgiving, they get with the family, they get together for Christmas and all that. They really don't know the person that's in their family. And then when persons get up to the person's a funeral, you know, you hear a lot of nice things. Well, anybody want to say something about this guy? I actually heard this. Person came up, he says, he made the best hamburgers I ever ate in my life. So what does that mean? You're talking about the person doing something. You're not saying one word of what the person is. Some quality, some real quality. It's a joke. I mean, if I were dead, I'd get up and kick him. Is that all you can say? You know, live for 50 years, 60 years? You don't even know what to say. Even when they're dead, you can't hear it. But how to make friends? Well, look at this. Does a child know how to make a friend? They've got them out there. And as they become teenagers too, they listen to them more than they listen to their parents. It shows they do feel connection. They do feel that someone's listening to them. Someone has heard them. We're not saying it's a good relationship. You know how to make friends. You know who you believe is on your side. Now, the difference about this is that the family should be this inside friend. Inside, good heart friends. Friends that you're not going to lose because of your relationship. There's a blood relationship. They're always your mother, they're always your father, they're always your brother, they're always your sister as long as you live. Outside friends, why should they be stronger and better than the ones that you live with? Then I wanted to say what the doctor was saying is family is there to fulfill needs. What is the main, a main need? I won't say the main need, but I could say that. The need to belong. To belong. You can't really love unless you believe you belong. You've got your space. You're a person there. You've got a heart, someone who's going to listen to you. If I know a woman who had 8 children, and I said, "Who did you love best in your family?" And she says, "All even. I love everybody just like the others. All even." Well, if we went around to those 8, and I did go around to the 8, there was one guy, I had heard a complaint from one of the sons, and I says, "Your mother tells me that she loved you as much as she loved everybody else. Do you really believe that? Are you in a family that someone really loved you equally?" I'd like to discuss it. And he says, "Yeah, she loves us all evenly. Go in her house and see how many photographs she's got of one particular brother." He says, "There's no photograph of me there." You see? The mother doesn't realize that she's playing favorites. She doesn't realize it. We're not saying she's a bad mother, she's a good mother. But you're gooder to someone, and you're not as good to someone else. Okay? And that sticks in memory. Another thing too, I was thinking, this organization called Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood. I kind of think of it as just the wrong thing to do, the monologues, the selfish parenthood, where it talks about the plans of the parents before the child is born to determine whether you're going to bring someone into existence. It would be a marvelous expression, marvelous and perfect, if it meant after the person's born. That you plan your parenthood. That you plan it. They say, the slogan is, "No unwanted child." That could be a marvelous thing if it's not selfish. Yes, it should read, "Every child, no matter whom God sends, is wanted." There's a big difference. Every person God has created, He wanted. Even the sinners. Jesus on the cross says, "I want you. I planned this. I planned this from the moment of your existence." And we didn't say, the Father and I didn't say, "You are unwanted and we plan to get rid of you and to be selfish." Yes, every child is wanted. So when big persons plan things and make what they desire so central, they'll even murder in order to say there's an unwanted child coming around and we don't want him. So in the role even of motherhood or fatherhood, there could be extreme selfishness. It isn't an automatic aura that is done right. Then I wanted to say this. How to work it out. Here's how I try to work it out as a pastor. If you don't work it out and talk together and have a special time and place for it, your business is going to go kaput. The same with families. It's so rare to see a family where they have a regular time and place for the whole family to talk things over. To have a subject, to talk things over. No, it's always a one-on-one. It's always the one in control. It's always the one who wants, oh, the rules have been broken now. I want you to do this. I want you to do that. You are wrecking our life. And then, eventually, the person retaliates. And it's another one-on-one. No, I don't like you. I hate you. You're my father. You're no friend. You're no, I must have been adopted. I've heard that. I've heard all this. How can you possibly be my father the way you treat me? So, they say things in anger. But there is no structure where you actually will get together and say things that are helpful. A mutual survey. It's very important. A mutual survey. To find out how the family is going. A regular time. Once a week? Once a month? Once a year? Most never. It's only in anger. It's only unilaterally. It's only casual, arbitrary, or in a crisis. And in a crisis, well, the whole world knows what's going on in your family. In a crisis, go to a counselor. There's trouble in school. You've got to talk to the principal. Eventually you're talking to a judge. You're talking to a jury. It even gets into the newspapers. The whole world knows. Because you only act in crisis. I have a very happy memory of my father. That he would sit us around the kitchen table and he says, now, we're a family. We're a family. I want each one of you to say what you think. And there's no retaliation. We only want to know what's going on. I felt I belonged. I was part of a family. I've seen this done. You don't have to have a crisis to do this. You don't have to say, well, now everything is going wrong. Now, in a divorce, wow, do they communicate? In hatred. If you can do it in hatred, you can do it in love. Notice how many times in the gospel it says, Jesus took the apostles apart and talked to them. He spent a whole night in prayer to talk to his father. His father knew him, he knew his father, he wanted to communicate. He talked to his apostles, took them aside, because they were a family. And what did Jesus say the night of his betrayal? And they were going to show weakness too. Chapter 15 of John's Gospel. He said, before I called you disciples, I called you servants, but now I call you friends. I call you friends. We talk things over. We're in partnership. And so much in partnership, and so well did he train him, and continued even after his death with the Holy Spirit. He sent them out to do his work, and he took the back seat. He ascended to heaven, and he left them out. They were trained, they were capable, they were loving, they had made grievous mistakes, but he didn't destroy them for that mistake. He retrained them. And that's the place where it should happen, in the family. If you are trained and mistrained, you can be retrained. But you can't do it if you're unwilling to do things mutually, positively, and at least try to get things corrected. So, I often think this, one-way streets are always a problem. Don't let things go one way. The best streets are the streets that go two ways. the better streets or the boulevards that go forward, that go 2 lanes each way. And more lanes, you're down on the freeway. And that freeway, 8 lanes going where everybody has an opportunity to be themselves. Only when there's an accident, when things really go wrong, can be corrected. And when it's corrected, one of the things we have in regard to our healing method is that whenever a correction is made of one, there should be even Steven if you're partners. Any one correction that's given, be willing to receive one. Be humble. Don't be proud. Don't be the absolute master. If I correct you in anything, we have that rule, any correction you make, you can give me one. So I know that it goes 2 ways. It's a 2-way street. And that should be the way in every family. Because that's the only honest way and the only way that is safe.
Okay, that was Professor Rami at Our Father's House, a ministry that he was pastor over it as a Catholic, but working with an ecumenical group of people, bringing people in from those that had wandered away from their churches, bringing them in to connect them back to Jesus and then send them back to their own home churches. So I hope that you enjoyed it. I apologize for the poor sound and film quality. That's the best we have right now. But I think it's a very important topic as we approach Valentine's Day, which is about love and about families showing love to each other. We're going to continue to prepare for that. And next time we'll have some more on that topic of love and being good to each other and what that's all about. So let me pause here, and I would like to add one thing that was not on there. I believe it was part of my lecture because I was lecturing with him. And I think it had to do with the method of dialogue and of these family meetings. And I think it's a worthy note to something I want to add here. So the method is on the family meeting, one of the best methods. It's not maybe the only method, but children of any age can either request a topic and tell their parent for their upcoming meeting, or write it down and put it on a scrap of paper in a little box. The parents, the night before, prepare for the meeting. They look at what's on the minds of their children or their teenagers or even their adult children. And then they set the agenda. And when the meeting starts, if they're a Christian family, they invite each other to pray. Everyone can offer a prayer. Sometimes the mother or father will start off. Persons can pray anything that's on their heart out loud, or recite a prayer that they have memorized. And then when they talk about the topic, no one is allowed to start pointing a finger at another person in the family. You only can say why it's an issue for you and what you think and what you feel or what you need. You can speak only for yourself. And the parents are the ones that are in charge of keeping this ground rule, that they need to have control and catch the bullets, we say. In fact, we use the same method, schematherapists, when we do couples counseling. We catch the bullets. We stop a partner if they're beginning to get negative and be attacking or accusatory to another person. Also in the family meeting, we don't let anyone be put on the spot. No one is on the hot seat. So the family does not have the privilege of everyone complaining about one family member. There's no hot seat. The parents don't allow it. Again, you can only talk about yourself, your own thoughts, your own views, your own need without pointing fingers. Talk about your own inner experience. Now, kids don't necessarily know how to do that. And in fact, parents don't know how to do that very well. And so that's why sometimes we do some family therapy, or we teach parents how to keep to the method this way and how to learn to make I statements and make it positive and start to get aware. If I say that, well, I'm irritated about this or that, it's not just dumping a negative feeling. It's looking at what is it that I'm not annoyed about, what's positive to say, and also why is this thing triggering me, and maybe what is it that I really need. If I'm annoyed, perhaps it's just because I'm cranky, or maybe it's because there's a need that's not getting filled. And it takes some growth and maturity and awareness to be able to identify that. The parents can kind of help and suggest a few needs, and needs are universal to all of us. So let's just say someone starts bringing up the fact that, I don't have any privacy in this house. Well, the parents can say then, let's talk about the subject of privacy. Let each person share what they think about it, what their experience is about it, what they have on their mind about it, what they desire. And then dad and mom, or mom and dad say, we're going to think about what everyone has said. And the next family meeting, we're going to do something about it. We're going to either address it in a way as parents. So the parents never react in the moment. They listen. They don't devalue and interrupt anyone's opinion, and they don't invalidate it and say, oh, that's just whatever. They don't brush it under the rug. Everyone gets a chance. Mom and dad make sure everyone has an equal chance to share, and they don't react at all, even if they completely disagree. Let's just say someone has an issue about religion, and some maybe teenager says, I'm sick of going to church and I don't believe in God. Okay, the parents don't jump in and react if they're Christians. They go, oh, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing your thought. Tell us more about that. You invite the person to explain maybe why they don't. And then we move on. You don't let them monopolize. You go to the next person. Well, let's everyone talk about that. What do you think? No, we know we brought you up in this culture, but you can think for yourself. Do you believe in God? What's your view on it? And everyone gets a chance to share. See, then mom and dad think about it, pray on it, and maybe they need to think about what's really happening in their family. What's going wrong, maybe even in their own witnessing of their own faith in God, that maybe they're not doing that very well. Maybe one of them has a drinking problem. Maybe one of them gets angry. And the child thinks, well, gee, doesn't sound like God's too important here in your life. So maybe you say you believe in God, but I don't see you acting on it. See, we need to be able to get each other's feedback in a way that doesn't put anyone down or destroy anyone, is honest. So the parents don't allow an attack, but they can say, like, let's say a child says, it confuses me. I don't understand why this is going on here. And the parents think about that and they pray on it and they talk together and then they address it. So that's part of the method. And I would like to invite Cesareo now, Dr. Cesareo Fernandez Gomez in sunny Spain, we've been sharing a little bit of that in Oshkosh here today. Share with us, if you would, Dr. Cesareo, what your thoughts are hearing Professor Rami about these 3 words of family and other thoughts that come to mind, whatever they are.
Well, as usual, the Romy Show topic gets straight to the heart of my hot topic these days. I have been talking with my colleague about God's plan, and God's plan is founding families. It's about founding a big family. And I'm not able to make a correct quotation now, but I know there is something written in the Proverbs book that it reads that the sin that God mostly hates is sowing hatred in families.
Let me repeat that also. You're saying in Proverbs, there's a verse that says the sin that God hates the most is hatred in families. Did I get that right?
Absolutely.
Okay, continue. What are your thoughts?
So that illustrates very much the importance I give to this topic, because God's plan is about making a family with all of us, and especially in natural families. So that would be the topic in which I should spend our best strengths to preserve God's plan in families. And that is what the lesson today is about. I have been discussing with my colleague today and yesterday what a family is, what really love is, why people doesn't understand God love, and what many are living like sheep without a shepherd, because they don't know what love is. Absolutely.
We need to make families safe. That's so important. And that's to hear each other and validate each other, because there has to be acceptance without the necessity of having to agree. If we accept each other, then that shows concrete love. We don't have to agree, but are we showing each other acceptance? And that's an integral part of making the family safe. And one of these points is that there's got to be this dialogue that Professor Rami's talking about. And the dialogue really is the families, the serving of each other. We serve each other when we connect. I do family therapy, and often I'll have a young adult or a teenager confide in me, and then we talk about, okay, what are we going to do about that? Let's open this up with your parents and your siblings. Let's talk about this, and let me help be a bridge for you. Let me help you make it safe. I'll set the ground rules down so that you're heard and that people respond and hear with your heart. And that is going to be our next topic, is hearing with your heart. That's critical to be as we approach Valentine's Day, because we need to all be Valentines to each other and to ourselves. That's another very interesting point that Professor Romuald makes. So thank you very much, Dr. Cesareo. And I appreciate all of you out there that are listening. And again, my apologies for the disintegrating quality of the tapes. So if one of you wants to volunteer to edit out some of that noise and some of that tapey, squishy stuff, just give me an email. We'll take your volunteer time. Thank you for bearing with us. God bless you. And we're looking forward to next week. Love you all. Bye now.
Stay tuned for the next episode, and don't forget, hear with your heart. What might you apply to your own life? Please note, all recordings are copyrighted by Dialogue International Press, LLC. See us on the web at jesus-centeredinstitute.org.